Hello viewers, welcome back. We're now looking at formula building. So what you are basically going to be doing in this exercise is filling in these cells. These cells which are shaded in gray. The whole of these cells that you are seeing which are shaded in gray, and we want to look at some of these values here. The things that are shaded within gray, those cells, these cells here, those are the things that we need to look at. Whatever that has been shaded in gray is what we are focusing on, these values here, this one here. So we need to get guidance on how we can be able to fill those values there. So that's what we are going to focus on. Now to get us started, one thing that you will want to try to do is use the mouse as much as possible and try avoiding the mouse if at all you can. So there are a couple of more keyboard tips to get you started. If maybe if you are going to do this completely with the mouse, here we want to go into this cell here, the cell K11. That's what we are going to compute. Now if you are to do that using the keyboard completely without using the mouse, what we are going to do from that cell, we are going to take this EBITDA amount in J11. This value you are seeing here, this one here, is the value that we are going to take from this. So we take this value here, so it's going to be this value, it's going to be from this point here. So that's the value that we are going to take, and it's the value that is going to help us get the value that we want here in that cell. So what we are going to do, we are going to be in that cell, and one thing that we are going to do, we want to increase that value by 7.5%. The 7.5 is that value in this side here. We are increasing this value by 7.5 from this point here. So that's what we are going to do from here. So what we do, we put in an equal sign. We are going to use the keyboard. So if you are going to use solely with the keyboard, we put in an equal sign in cell K11, and what we want to do, we want to grab the EBITDA in cell G11, and now we are going to multiply. So we use the right arrow to pick that value, and this we are going to multiply by opening bracket. You first open the bracket, and then we say 1 plus. Now we are adding the percentage that is up in that cell K10. So we use the up arrow to move to that cell, and then we can close the bracket. So shift 0. So we've closed the bracket, and so that's the formula we wanted to enter from that point. It looks like the way you are seeing it on the screen. So that's the formula that we are going to use, and now we hit enter. You'll find that we have our value as you've seen up there. 19,757,000. Remember, these values are in millions. Here, our global units mark says all figures in US dollar thousands unless stated. So all these values are in that section. So now, if you're already accustomed to using the keyboard, the last demonstration may seem a little bit obvious. What you would also already know is that you can use the F2 key to get into a formula that into the formula that we've just used to make a modification on it. Now, for instance, if maybe you want to make modification to the formula that we've just put in, it is within that cell K11. So we put our cursor on that cell, cell 11, cell K11, and now what we are going to do, we are going to make sure that we have to modify the formula in there. So what we are going to do, for instance, we want to get into that cell K11. Instead of double clicking, because if you double click on this, you'll be able to get into that cell using the mouse. But now we don't want to double click on it. So hit enter. So what we want to do to get into that cell, we don't want to use the mouse. So we are going to just tap F2 key. And now it has taken us to the same where we've been. So it has displayed to us the formula that we have in there, in that place. J11 times open bracket 1 plus K10, close the bracket. That's the formula that we have inside there. So if we are comfortable with this formula, we can hit enter. Now, the issue here is that if we are not comfortable with the formula, we can make modifications to those formulas. Now, if you are comfortable with it, you just hit enter. And now it will display that. So it means we have gone into the cell and we've checked it without making any modification. Now, here is where a lot of people get confused or they get stuck. And then they start reaching out for the mouse. Because completing this section from this point up to this way is where people get stuck. And instead of just using the keyboard shortcuts, they end up using or looking for the mouse. Let's suppose that we want to actually, let's suppose that what we actually need to do is to make, we need to make a modification to this formula in cell K11. Now, since we are already in cell K11, what we are going to do, we know that we can tap F2 to get into that cell or to get into that formula. But let's pretend that we want to change this cell reference. So let's tap the F2. So we want to pretend that we want to change this cell reference, this one, K10, the one that we used up here of 7.5. And we want to change it maybe to J10, this one, of 7.3%. What we are going to do, we are going to highlight this one. Inside here, highlighting inside here, that K10. Maybe you can try to zoom out. So what we want to do, want to highlight that cell inside there, that K10. So what are we going to do to highlight that? What we are going to do, we are going to to hold down the shift key and then use the arrows depending on where your cursor is. So you are going to be using the arrows. So hold down the shift key, then we can be able to move along there. We've been able to highlight that K10. So since we've highlighted using the left arrow, because my cursor was outside the bracket, so we've highlighted that cell K10. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to hit the backspace. The backspace has actually deleted that cell from there. So we first undo that. We can use also the backspace. We use the backspace because now if you use this bigger backspace, it will delete it and it will not display the cursor, but we want the cursor to be there. That's why we use the backspace. This small backspace, the one that has that backspace written on it. So we have the cursor in place there. Now, what we want to do is navigate around into the spreadsheet to find a new cell. And remember, the new cell is going to be J10. Well, when you try to use the up arrow, because now I can move using, because we are not going to use the mouse. If I use the up arrow and I hit the up arrow, you will see that your cursor is not moving anywhere, that you can't be able to navigate to the spreadsheet. Even if you hit the down arrow, you will not be able to move. Even if, but when you use the left arrow, you will see that the cursor is actually moving within. It's not moving out. It's just moving within the formulas. So, and you use now the up arrow, you can actually be able to navigate through spreadsheet. So you use the up arrow. You can see now we can move out of that cell. And now what we want to pick this cell right here, J10. So the up arrow enabled us to navigate around and we can find that cell J10. And that's what we are looking for. So now what we are going to do, we hit enter. When we hit enter, we can see that we have now modified. It is asking whether we want to accept the changes. Yes, and now we've changed. We wanted it to be referring to this one. We know that what we've done is wrong. Now, so really, you can see that if you want to think about the F2 key, because what I want you to look at, I want you to understand that this F2 key not only help us to actually get into a cell, but it can also make a modification of that same cell by giving us a toggle between the different cells that we want to move to inside the spreadsheet. So in other words, it gives us operation between the cell, and we can actually operate within the cell, and at the same time we can operate inside the spreadsheet. So let's try to practice that one more time. Now, we have a formula in here, in this same cell. And the formula we have there, we know it's wrong. It's incorrect since it is referencing to the previous year's EBITDA. It is referencing to 7.3. Yet the actual thing should be referencing to it is referencing to previous year, which is this 7.3%. But it's supposed to reference to 7.5, which is the current year that we are working in. So what we need to do, we need to make sure that we change that formula, and that's going to give us another try of how we can be able to use this F2 key, because it is really important not only to help us move into the cell, but also giving us a toggle between the cell itself and the spreadsheet. So we are in that cell. What we do from that point, we hit the F2 key just to get into that cell. So if you want to move into that cell, you hit the F2 key, and now we are in. So what we are going to do is we are going to make sure that we move into that cell using the F2 key. Now, we are going to hold down the Shift key, then we use the right arrow to highlight that J10 because it's wrong. We are supposed to have, it's supposed to be referenced to K10. So we hit the backspace key just to delete that. And now what we are going to do, we need to move out. If you want to move out to pick that K10, this one here, if you use the up arrow, you will not be able to move out. So you have to tap the F2 again to be able to use the up arrow, and you move out of that cell. So from there, we are going to close the bracket and then hit enter. You are seeing we are back to where we were. So we've been able to change that 7.3 to where it should be referencing in cell K10 for 7.5%. So that's what we've done as far as practicing making that quick modification. So what we are currently seeing is that the F2 key has helped us to move inside the formula, and it has also helped us to actually move out of the formula, and we can be able to move in spreadsheet. So since we have now referenced the right value, we've done the modification that we wanted, we can now go ahead and do the rest. So what we are going to be doing in this exercise is obviously progressing all the way down through this financial model template and trying to fill out all these gray figures, these ones that we've not handled or we've not filled in yet, whichever that is in gray color. Those cells that are in gray colors, we have to fill them up. So we can be able to go through the entire template without looking at any of the other files and completely fill out this Excel sheet. Now, one thing that may be nice for many of you is to take a look at the PDF file. The PDF file is within we've supplied that within our Telegram channel that accompanies this. That file will show you what the completed model should look like and enable you to check some numbers like this very number here. From that point, you'll be able to see whether the formulas you entered there, they are actually giving you the right numbers as per the PDF. In other words, you check the number against the PDF, the value that in the PDF document or file, just to see if you are getting the correct numbers for the rest of the numbers. The other thing that we can do is you can check the complete file that we have also supplied in the same Telegram channel, and the link is attached to our YouTube channel in the About section. So you can go there, join the channel, be able to download whichever material you want from there, and you'll have to be able to follow along as we proceed. So if you really get stuck, you may need to get some assistance and look at how that was built. Remember to try not to use the mouse and try to do it all with the keyboard if at all you can. And make sure that you also subscribe to the channel, share to others, because there are so many things that we are going to have in place. Make sure you have the notification bell icon turned on so that you can be notified whenever we upload new videos. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next video as we look at the unlevered free cash flow schedule, as we fill everything from here to where there are those gray cells that we've not touched to. Thank you for watching.